I totally got the map wrong. It is actually Simulacrum. My bad, guys. But anyway, to start off this series, we're getting right into it, and we do see that Cure is immediately starting off this series, bringing the pace to his opponent. We have one barracks on the way at that 6 o'clock position, and 2 more SCVs heading on over to start production. But with also making a gas.
3 racks Reaper is kind of the expectation here. So something that you don't usually see, but absolutely a very unique way to completely throw Serral off his momentum before he even gets to build up.
This is a nice way to start the series. Everybody knows him as a very standard Terran, so the fact that he's whipping out something like this immediately, that will, even if he loses this game, that will show Serral that, wow, this is a guy that everything that I know about him, he's bringing something new to the table. He's actually kind of reading the tournament and just going with the flow.
Yeah, you just can't trust him anymore, right?
No, like he's going to make me play honest.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to start off the series.
Something that we haven't seen in a long while, but some Terran players still kind of experiment with this now and again. I think like Kello Zer, for example, on the European server. But it's really not something you see every day, so again, it might even just be Serral's a bit out of shape practicing against this, because how, does he remember when he wants to get his roach run? Does he remember how many roaches he wants to build? Is that even the way he wants to go for this? He might go for that link speed opening as well. Those are the 2 main choices, and he's about to find out about this in just a few moments. The first Reaper is here, moving into the main base and starting to deal some damage.
And immediately has to force one of his drones into a Spore Crawler here. He wants to get those last 8 points of gas here just to start up link speed as quickly as possible. He does that. He immediately sends the drones back to mining. Nice drone saves here by Serral. Gets the Lings out now, but it's 2 Reapers on the field.
Yeah, this is one of those builds as well where momentum is really in favor of the Terran player, right? If you start killing things, life becomes more difficult afterwards. Now he's going to get a drone kill, he's going to make that 2, and he's gotten all the Zerglings so far, but the Queen will be a much sturdier force in that main base to try and hold on.
Getting 3 drones already and all those Lings, that is indeed nice for Cure. He's even picking apart this Queen a little bit here. The grenades, all of them landing, keeping the Reapers alive as well. Sends the most unhealthy one to the back, and so far he hasn't lost a thing.
I actually like the Spine Crawler from Serral because it's not a map where there's a lot of options for where the Reapers can come from. So this Spine Crawler is something I think a lot of people would criticize on other maps, but here it really zones out the Reapers from the main, and now those Reapers have to focus on fighting the natural, which allows Serral to always be in position.
Oh, really nice grenades by Cure. He's making these Queens not be able to fire for quite some time. The Lings are trying to buy time as well. Link speed isn't super far away, but when you're under so much pressure, it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, it really does. It is on its way. If anything, these Queens staying alive is great. Look at that. Nothing lost just yet from Cure. Some of those Reapers have been low, but have been kept alive as Serral. 6 seconds to go, and again, an eternity is the right word for it because it's finally here. And well, the Spine Crawler is even going to come down to the front to try and scare this off.
Oh, he's losing so much here is Serral. He's down in workers, or at least equal on workers, which is never a good spot against a Terran. The Spine Crawler does join the low ground, which is great, but now he has to get to that high ground immediately because those Reapers are jumping up. He's trying to spread creep, he's trying to do all the right things, but Cure's applying pressure.
He's applying pressure and so far looking good. Now remember, Cure cut a lot of SCVs initially to go into this, so he does need to do some damage, of course. He's only on 1 base. And so far so good, but it does get scarier now that link speed is up. And look at this counterattack. No wall off on the other side. Serral knows it, so immediately sends his Lings across the map. And Cure realizes this possibility as well. That's why the Reapers are coming home.
Very safe play by Cure. Like, it obviously is a great move to come back and make sure that you don't lose the game because you just lost every SCV. But that gives Serral a lot of time to breathe. And if we look in the main base of Cure a little bit, he was just placing all his depots kind of defensively. So I feel that's maybe one thing. If he was expecting to kind of relent on the pressure a little bit, at least making a depot wall would have been quite good against this.
Yeah, maybe wouldn't have had to pull back, and then you can take advantage of Serral coming across the map, as right now that Reaper count is so very scary. I think we've seen about 2 go down overall at this stage. It just means it's just kept on racking up. Okay, 4 units total. Still not that many, all things considered, as our Greens come on in. And a couple of transfusions. What a save that was on the top Queen.
Beautiful transfusions, and he takes down maybe 1 or 2 Reapers right there with that. The front entrance to the base as well is quite nicely defended by the Spine Crawler, but without Queen support, these Reapers do regenerate when they're not in fights. But here, all the Lings, they try and get on top of the Marines, but great grenades by Cure. He's been on top of that this game.
Yeah, the Zerglings doing a decent job picking up 1 Reaper, but again, the grenades are so good. The Lings cannot stay on a Serral for long. And look at Serral dropping down a lair. My immediate thought here has got to be a Nidus perhaps in towards that main base or something.
Maybe just getting like really fast roach speed or something like that, you know, like I'm not entirely sure what his goal is here. He obviously needs to try and stay alive. The obvious thing in my head is like, well, if he gets Mutalisk out, nothing shoots up.
He takes a second gas, right? So it suggests he's going to build some sort of tech structure, I would imagine here, so maybe aspire into the extra gases, because you're also stuck on 2 bases. So Mutalisk play becomes quite nice, because you can kind of play a 2 Mutalisk style.
I think you were onto something though, Wardy. He's making so many queens. In fact, he just cancelled that one right there. Maybe it could be some kind of Nidus to pile on some pressure on the other side of the map, give yourself some breathing room, but the Reapers, they're at bay a little bit here, so he is saving up quite a bit of gas. We'll see what his option of tech is here.
I think Aspire, right? I think it makes the most sense given the scenario. He doesn't have the units to really all in with the Nidus. And again, like I said, off 2 bases, you can take 4 gases. He doesn't have the drone count to saturate yet anyways. So it just helps him from being slowed down going towards the 3rd base.
Now, even though Serral has been taking a lot of damage from these Reapers, he's still in a decent spot economically. The expansion of Cure has only really just gone up, I do believe here. Yes, only just now. So even though he was applying so much pressure, it was a fairly all-in build by him. He wanted to try and do even more damage potentially, or even kill Serral. But Serral, he holds on, and now he's got a pretty decent worker lead this game.
Dropping the Baneling Nest as well, so you will have something of a follow-up. I mean, Cure is going for a Banshee, and that is actually really quite bad against the Mutalisks as well. So Mutalisks are the one thing that Cure is not really think about in any way, shape, or form. 2 Marines at a time are not going to shut down what Serral's going to be able to afford on the Mutalisk count soon.
Very amusing making 2 Marines out of these 2 barracks and not really utilizing tech labs. In fact, is he just going to do switches? But he's getting the Banshee tech, which I think's been scouted by Serral without Overlord. Oh, and cancels it. But he's going to get a Banshee. I guess that's probably just a safety Banshee. Maybe to secure a 3rd or...
Yeah, maybe he really wanted it to come out with Cloak, and then scouts it just says, it's not actually worthwhile. You know, maybe thinks he can still do something with 1 Cloakless Banshee. Unfortunately for Cure, Serral's got Mutalisk, so it's going to do nothing at all, unless it misses the Mutalisk, of course.
This Reaper squad, accompanied by a couple of Hellions, makes it so much harder for Serral to engage it with the Zerglings, given that pretty much every unit here counters the little Zergling task squad by Cure.
Cure's actually only on 1 engineering bay as well. Whenever there's only 1 engineering bay, it always screams aggression. You know, let's go for the next fight, because you're investing less into, you know, upgrades for the future and more into an army right now. So we'll see if that plays out into something as well. For the moment, no 3rd CC as well, of course, but it has been a weird game, so things are meant to be a little bit out of order. I love the fact that Serral just prioritizes Baneling speed over anything else after the Spire, because that's going to be what saves him as the Mutalisks show up in the main.
Wow, he's ignoring the attacks, basically, that are against him under so much pressure here. Goes straight to the main base and gets quite a bit of damage done. And now Terran doesn't have Lava Inject, so they can't just whip out those workers immediately. And that 52 worker lead to 36 is looking pretty good right now. Yes, he gave away his tech, but this is some damage getting him back into this series for sure here.
Yeah, and he's going to keep on building a few extra Mutalisks as well, which I kind of like because he's seen a siege tank being produced. And obviously, if there is some sort of a marine tank push, having a higher Muta count to then threaten tanks around the back is great, as those are free pickers, those are Reapers and Hellions. Yes, please say the Mutalisks, and they'll start to get some kills as Q has to pull away. And he's building into this attack, right? It's going to happen soon. He has to start pushing across the map in some way.
Do you know some super pivotal things here as well? He hasn't seen a 3rd base. He's only seen 1 engineering bay by his opponent as well. I think Serral is all over this. He's respecting this a lot. We don't see any drones in production right now. That is just a lot of Lings, a lot of Mutas, even getting Banelings. Banelings are a unit that you only want to make when you actually use them, given that they are pretty darn expensive actually, and now the upgrades do start for Serral, but I think he's in a great spot, but this is a scary army.
It is scary. Let's see what it can do. Remember, a lot of this though is Reapers, which are great in the earlier game, but in a larger army are not really the best of units that you've ever seen. We'll see what can happen, because sometimes if you can control grenades in this fight, they could maybe have an impact as well, as the Mutas are looking to maybe shut off some reinforcement. Here come the boys as well. So it is a full-on committed all-in here from Cure. He needs to win the game in the next minute or 2.
Serral is so brazen. Look, he's got his Mutas on the other side of the map here, and I mean, that's going to be great for picking off the reinforcements, but that is a lot of Cure knocking on his door. He's going on the creep, he's scanning, he's removing all that, splitting his army as well. Now Serral does see everything. He can't pick off that tank with the mutas in the back because he's defending with the Marines, but the Banelings, they're rolling in, they're smashing all the Marines. The first tank goes down, all the bio dropping quite rapidly as well. And Cure, he's down to 21 workers here, half the supply of Serral, and Serral made that look easy.
He really did. The Mutalisk came back right on time. He bought himself all the time he needed for the mutas to join the fight too. Cure's army still maybe a bit scary here. He is working with that +1 attack upgrade. Serral cancelled his, knowing this was a big attack. As a couple Banes roll forwards there, Mutas are taking the fight against Marines. That just is not enough for Cure right now. Reinforcements not making their way across the map fast enough as the siege tank goes down, and only Marines feels very scary. And there's the next round of Banelings already set to go for Serral to help keep cleaning this up as Cure comes onto Crete.
Oh, as soon as he sees these Banelings rolling in, along with the mutas, I think Cure knows it in GG. Serral, calm, composed, and calculated. He was under so much pressure, and even though he wins the game, we see him kind of angrily muttering to himself, like, how did I maybe deal with that stuff at the start? Like, oh, what is this strategy that this guy's throwing at me? But Serral, he looked darn good this game.
I loved it. You know, it's Serral being made to think on the fly, doing little things. And Serral has always been that guy who's been innovative in defenses, right? He's always the player that comes up with a new way to defend something. And this was just him showing, hey, this is not something I do every game. Maybe the very odd time Serral somehow runs into like Ziggy or somebody on the ladder and he 3-racks Reapers him. You know, is the sort of scenario that you get into that. It's very rare. And yet here he is, he still comes out and he looks prepared. He looks like he has a plan all game long. And like you said, he had full idea of what was going on all the way through the game. He knew there was an attack coming. He was preparing for it. And it got a bit close. So if he hadn't made those preparations, he could have been in real trouble.
Yeah, Cure probably was thinking, man, I'm going to show him something he's never seen before.
Yeah.
And Serral was like, hold the phone a minute. I play Ziggy every day on the European ladder. I practice against this all the damn time. But yeah, that was really nicely held by Serral. I also, one thing that really comes through every time you see Serral play, he almost never overcommits with units. There's a lot of times when he was kind of defending his third base against all those Reapers and Hellions. We saw him dart forward with the Lings, but then he pulled back knowing that if I chase this guy, I'm just going to keep on bleeding out. So he knows when to pull back. He knows how to buy time almost better than any other Zerg out there. And overall, he's just one of the smartest players that we have in StarCraft.
It's kind of crazy because it's those little engagements that he never takes the bad end of that make it so difficult to win a longer game against him and to even try and all in him because you never get an advantage going into it. Spawning up in the top left-hand side of Triton, our red Zerg player, this is Serral.
And spawning over in the bottom right side. Currently 0-1 down, it is Cure. I guess one thing we have to remember, these guys are both 2-0 in this group.
Yeah.
So right now, this is kind of vying for who really is going to take the lead in this group. And everybody's kind of had the off-season, right? I know we've seen a lot of Cure because he's been playing online, but this is the real first showing of Serral that we've seen this year on LAN, which it's absolutely beautiful to see that even though we said he took that month break over Christmas, you know, like normal people took that break off StarCraft, he comes back and he's looking as strong as he ever has.
My favorite is when I was talking to Horstam and he's like, you know, I go on break for 2 days and I drop 400 MMR. Serral goes on break on a month and gains 300 because Serral actually did show back up after the Christmas break and he's like, I'm going to start laddering on my 697k account. 7-3 2 days later. It's like, what? Are you? How much? You know how long it takes to grind a 7-3? It's insane. He's so good. He just doesn't seem to ever lose it, right? Like he never has an off day either.
I think Serral's approach to StarCraft 2 is also an extremely healthy one.
Yeah.
I don't really hear about him having these like 10-hour marathon sessions and stuff. I really hear about him giving himself a set schedule, knowing what he wants to work on, picking the correct practice partners for his weaknesses and also working on his strengths. He treats the game in such a way that it obviously works out perfectly for him.
Yeah, it's really impressive. He is really somebody to study outside of the game as well almost, right? For kind of improving and how to kind of set your time. And as we get going into this game too, very standard openings across the board. There is a Reaper on the way across the map if I'm not mistaken, so it's just super standard expansion builds. And waiting for Serral to try to get up to a third hatchery, it seems, perhaps, as the Reaper comes over to harass.
This looked very much like well, it is a barracks first into gas opening for the Terran, which means he gets the Reaper out, then he gets the Marine. So it's a very safe opening, respecting your opponent, but it also has the potential to deny overlords and such, which is great. Now this Reaper, we've seen that Cure's very good with his grenades and stuff, but this Reaper is getting scarily low, and if you get it that low, it means you can have just put down a creep tumor immediately on the high ground, so this is quite a nice start for Serral.
Yep, creep tumor goes down, no way the Reaper comes back in to kill that, especially up the ramp. And we did see Cure taking the second gas. This is going to be a starport-based opener, which gives options. It can still absolutely be bio. Of course, we've seen a lot of like Liberator into stim pack openings into that 4-minute or so, 3rd CC, 430. And then on the other side of things, you can also, if Cure really wants to throw something out there, maybe he does pull out Mac.
Did you see this as well? Immediately, he's like, okay, I'm going to send my queen here in the main base, because I know that a Reaper's probably going to try and get some sneak information in. Right now, Serral's making all the right moves, and this is a very standard opening by both of them, but also respectful openings. Link speed on the way. We also have Overlord speed started very, very early.
Yeah, he's going to find out immediately just what's going on. There is a Viking from Cure, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Oftentimes when you go for the Viking, it's clean out Overlords and then maybe try to hide something behind it, so the possibility of like a Hellbat attack or something a little different is there. Not that this is necessarily going to be that. I believe a Tech Lab just finished up on the racks, which would signify probably Stimstime, but he actually goes and builds another, which is maybe going to be then maybe like Cloak Banshee or something. There's a little bit of swapping around that can be done here.
There certainly is. So he now knows that Serral has the Overlord speed, because, you know, those Overlords just flew around the base and such. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to keep the other Overlord alive on the other side of the map, which he does. He immediately sends that one back home, which we see on the mini-map. So he denies one Overlord, and that's great, but the Overlord speed means he'll be able to keep the rest of them alive against this Viking. I'm always curious, because when I play on the European ladder, most of the European Zergs like to tend to go for that Overlord speed, just to make sure that they're not up against anything cheeky. So these Viking openings don't really get to do that much, but it makes me curious as to what are the meta, or what is the meta on the Korean server, because maybe these styles will clash, and maybe it won't work out for one of them.
Yes, he's actually gone up to 8 Hellions as well, right, which is a little bit more divey. It's a bit more commitment. It slows down your racks. It slows down any future follow-up push. But it hopes that you can maybe get more done, because those 2 extra Hellions do serve a purpose, and it will really kind of bring the Queens to the front to kind of cause a serious threat there, and then the Liberator can backstab a mineral line at the same time.
And even that Viking could potentially land behind a mineral line, just making a 3-pronged attack almost. But that, or rather, that Viking's just staying back at home, staying there to kind of deny tech and what have you. Now trying to push the front to clear up these creep tumors, but these Queens are all in the right locations. A Spore Crawler and Queen in the main as well. Fend off that Liberator. So far, Serral's not really making any errors here.
Which is exactly what you expect from Serral, right? It's just the perfect defense, and, you know, one Queen here. He's actually going to go in, and he's going to get the surround on the Hellions, and they have to go up north, which means they're going down, and immediately Cure is going to lose all of his map control here on Triton.
Wow, Serral. And look, doesn't even lose a drone in the main base either. This guy is so fast, and we talked about this, Wardy. We've talked about it for years when it comes to Serral. If you try and outpace this young man, you just can't do it. He will keep up with you, and he'll do one better. He'll deflect everything without taking one single drone's worth of damage.
And especially when it's 8 Hellions, to lose all of those, again, slow down those racks like I mentioned before, and that immediately puts everything into jeopardy in terms of your entire game plan, because you just can't fall behind a little bit against Serral. Creep is going to be exploding on the map now, and you can see Serral just starts up a Hydrogen right away after upgrades. He did prioritize Baneling speed here initially as well, and a bit of Ling Bane Hydra, maybe even into some Lurkers here as well. Big possibility, something we see now and again from the European Zergs.
This is a very old school style of way of doing things, I feel. Like getting the Baneling speed is very Korean-esque from like 2017, 2018. It's very safe and keeps you quite decent on the map. It also means you can deal with these marine drops and such. Getting the Hydralisk Den so early as well, up to 77 drones. His creep spread is also immaculate. Right now, we just can't fault Serral's play, and he's even getting up his 4th base very safely.
Yep, 4th base coming up, and I mean, these Marines, they clean a few creep tumors to the right side. Guess what? As the Marines go left, the Queens come right. It's creep 4, you know, creep being replaced. And it does slow it down, of course. It does maybe still keep some openings That Ling Bane Force, though, will force these Marines and Medivacs back, and that means the creep will again continue to press forward safely for the moment. And Serral, you said 77 drones, and it's just what an amazing number to already be working on, because, yeah, maybe a couple more, which is what he's adding, but for the most part, he's set on economy for the game. Now he just makes units, and he just defends and sets some counterattacks. He can put his attention elsewhere.
You might be wondering, what is the next step for Cure? Well, he has to keep that creep at bay. That means that the Zerg feels very safe, given that his units move faster, but most importantly almost, has vision to any of the oncoming attacks. So Cure, his plan is just going to be keeping Serral busy, keeping that creep back, trying to get an attack into something very exposed, like a mineral line, something like that. But right now, Serral's doing everything right. 1-1 is about to finish as well, gets the Hydralisk upgrade as well for range. Oh, it's going to be very tough for Cure.
And I think Cure's already accepting that something like a larger timing. That was a nice target fire on the Banelings. Unfortunately, these lanes are able to force the lift up anyways. But Cure's taking the gas on the third base, right? Which generally suggests a second factory, which is what we see. So we're seeing drilling claws, building tanks still, and Widow Mines is an interesting approach. It's very difficult to engage into tanks and Widow Mines at the same time, because the way you deal with tanks is, oh, that medevac just slips away. The way you deal with tanks is to send all your units in at once from a flank. But for Widow Mines, you send a few units forwards at once to try and set them off. And together, they can be a little bit tricky.
Oh, Cure's getting some nice damage done here. Like, he's stopping the creep spread, which is very important. But this fifth base of Serral is very exposed, and we do see a flood of red come over to the side of the map. And the fifth base, will it stay up? Snipes quite a few Banelings, but Serral deflects this attack and keeps his fifth base alive.
Two Banes got in there and just did so much damage to those Marines. A good final moment defense there. Serral did lose a couple of units unexpectedly, and that's one of the rare times Serral will have that happen to him, right? He's so good at taking those little fights.
And one thing we saw here as well, Serral actually saw that it's drilling clawed Widow Mine, so he knows what is the next step. He has the Overseer now, and it's better to lose a unit just to that rather than losing a big chunk of your army when you're taken by surprise. Serral, he's gone over 80 drones now. He's getting the Infestation Pit, getting the 2-2 upgrades, and even feeling confident to throw down more drones.
Yeah, it feels as though he definitely feels like he's in control of the map. Yes, this little attack on the left side was scary, but he comes forwards, he's taking down some rocks, he's got an army on the right as well. Here is looking to push up the left, so focusing on continuing to attack towards that fifth base rather than the fourth or anything. As you see, Bane's starting rolling in, Widow Mines are burrow tanks are siege, and the Marines are off creep, so you can't chase too far as Serral, and Cure will now keep pressing forwards, and we'll get a couple of creep tumors now the Banelings are too far back.
That was so scary for Cure. By the way, those Banelings were so close to blowing up all over his Marines. Serral is approaching max. He's getting the Hive upgrade. He's adding more and more Baneling to the mix as well. Look at his drone count. It's 86 versus 72. Cure's quite a bit off maxing. These tanks are in a beautiful position here, but he's not even made it halfway across the map, and there's already creep spreading aggressively.
Yeah, the creep just keeps on coming. Serral is so good at replacing that no matter how many times Cure has pushed it back so far, and Cure just starts with his 3-3 upgrades, keeps on building tanks still. A little counter-attack here from Serral, the first one we've really seen. He's been pretty happy to sit back and play defense, but now he's going to start getting a bit more aggressive and making sure Cure can defend as well.
As many creep tuners as we've seen killed this game, Serral's done such a good job of reapplying it. And I mean, Cure is asserting pretty decent dominance over the middle of the map, but trying, and also he's doing a good job of deflecting these attacks, I do feel.
Yeah, it looks really good, right? I mean, yeah, you lose the depots, but everything else so far has gone down. At the same time, he does not want to lose these Marines to all those Banelings. The tanks are dealing some pretty good damage from the high ground, but Serral keeps on chasing. He'll get the two tanks. The Marines are pushed back. Then Serral disengages on both sides, the left and the right. Again, a little scary for Serral here and there, but feels like overall he's getting the better end of it.
Those were some seriously good fights by Cure. Like, he defended that third very well, with the tank placement, microing the Marines as well. On the left side, it started off bad with those Banelings getting big connects, but those tanks had some juicy shots, and here, he's doing very good micro and pickup, and he is actually trading efficiently against Serral.
Yeah, he really is. The efficiency obviously is big in TVZ because it allows you to be down a base, it allows you to be down a bit in the work account, and then eventually you just slowly take one base at a time. You solidify a position while keeping the action all over the map. A few Marauders mixed in now, of course, they'd be loving to tank some of these Baneling shots as they keep on rolling through, and Serral again deciding to disengage.
It is crazy that even though I'm seeing Serral lose units, he's staying pretty much at 200 supply. And I mean, he's getting all the right upgrades behind us as well. I think he's going for his own 3-3. But speaking of, We have a massive attack, and look at this huge concave by Cure. There is a big flank ready on the left side for Serral, but has to go by a PF, and he doesn't want that. That was a really nice fight for Cure to be taking.
It really, really was. The army on the left was out of sync. It wasn't there in time. It wasn't ready to swoop in. And so Serral took a bad fight there, and again, that's going to be the efficiency stacking up from Cure. And for the first time, Serral isn't staying maxed out versus a 170 supply Cure. He's staying maxed out against a Cure who's finally able to start maxing himself.
I think one thing for Serral there was he just didn't expect Cure to be so nicely positioned with his army in 3 different spots, and that definitely it shows that Serral doesn't often maybe play against Terrans of Cure's caliber, but behind everything that's going on, look at that creep spread across the map. It is absolutely vicious, and Serral, he's going in again with a lot of Lingbane Hydra, blinding clouds as well on the tanks, but that is a conga line of Banelings. They're marching into the death zone right there, and Cure holds magnificently once again.
The Bioforce able to be in concave, able to shut this down. And again, Serral, it's initial shots, it's initial damage, but there's nothing behind that. There's no follow through. But behind it all, he's also got that Ultra's Cavern up. And that is a big game changer for Zerg because it changes the momentum of the game. Suddenly, the Zerg becomes that little bit beefier, and the Terran is forced to start slowing down the transition as well. But Serral's the one not slowing down right now. Going in again, the Lingbane Hydra coming through. Blinding Clouds on the Marines to try and force them forwards. Good splits back from Cure, as Serral still has the Hydra count here, but I don't know if that's enough on its own to keep pushing through because there's still so many Widow Mines as well.
Serral finally hits 3-3 as well amidst all this, still making 70 Zerglings behind this onslaught attack. He goes for the orbital as well, and now he backs off. This is something that we didn't see in the laser series. When you have a chance, you take it, and then you get out of dodge. He has to retake a 4th base, I suppose, does Cure.
But there's creep there.
There's creep there already, and Serral, look at the map. It is his map. He's expanded a 5th time, a 6th time behind all of this. In fact, maybe even the 7th time. And now he's got Ultralisk. Cure can barely hold on against this wave. Soon it's going to get even harder.
Yeah, when there was just Hydras left, I thought it was over, but Serral said no, took more of an advantage, and now he comes slamming in again. The Widow Mines are pretty decent, yes, but guess what? Those Hydras are not slowing down, continuing to push on through here. Serral is going to cancel that base once more. The Banelings don't stop coming, and that is GG, as Serral takes a pretty convincing 2-0.
That was a masterclass of TVZ. First game, he showed you how to deal with a really, really strong pressure build by Terran in the 3-Rax Proxy Reaper. The grenades were really good by Cure in that series too. It was not easy to hold by any means. The second game though, the way that he shut down that multi-prong aggression at the start and then just absolutely took over the map with his creep spread. And Cure, yeah, that is my phase 2 for him. Like, how do I beat that guy?